What an honor today to welcome Sherry Flynn and Lee Flynn. And we're so grateful that we can be a part of the work of Partners for Africa. Sherry and Lee, we did this little exercise once about 3 months ago. I'm going to ask if you have ever, in this audience, packed a banana box, donated clothes, shoes, school supplies, medical equipment, whatever, for a banana box, or Phil Bone transported a banana box. Stand. Go ahead, stand. If you've ever been on one of the several mission trips, Antigua, Swaziland, Zimbabwe, stand. Maybe this, no, yeah, everybody can keep standing. And I just wanted to let this be an expression, Sherry and Lee, of our love and our support for Partners Partners for Africa and the work that you are in now, and how much we love you and appreciate what y'all do. So thank y'all. Please be seated. Paul writes to the Philippians, I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for you, I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. It's right for me to feel this way about you since I have you in my heart. Truly, that's something that we have and we've had for many years with Dorian. One of the things that is so neat about Partners for Africa is the fact that it's self-sustaining. Its goal is to be self-sustaining. Dorian and Sherry and Lee and Haley and so many, who, by the way, you'll speak to that, but Haley will be in the States here for about a month, have worked so hard to make it where the churches that are established become self-supporting. They have elders, they have deacons, they have their ministers. The school, the clinic, whatever it is, the goal is to be self-supporting. And so that's such a neat thing and a good work and a hard work, but a compliment and a testament to the work of the Flynns. And so welcome to Rose Hill. Let's have a prayer. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful to you for the lives of Dorian and Sherry and Lee and so many others that are involved for Partners for Africa. Father, we're thankful that we can be in a partnership with them in the gospel. Bless them, Father, in their work. Bless us as we support them and help them and encourage them, Father, in every way that we possibly can. Thank you for this time together. Bless the words that Lee says. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, is it working? Got all kinds of contraptions to turn on here. Well, good morning. It's good to be here, and I've never been here before, although I know some of the people here, and I've heard about quite a few of the people. Before I start in the presentation, I do want to say a couple things. One, thank you to Alan specifically. He has been just, well, y'all probably know how he's been, but he's been that way to me and my mother, especially in the last few months, and very appreciative of that. Also, enjoyed the class this morning, and this writing in the bulletin, Nathan, I mean, that's awesome as well. Just really powerful, and I appreciate that. Also, the Hortons, who are back there sitting by my mother, I went to school, Florence, Alabama, at a school called Mars Hill Bible School, and just kind of by chance, he ran into Alan yesterday and ends up getting to be here with us this morning. So what a cool thing that happened. But let me jump in because I've got a lot to say, and I'm going to try to follow my dad's lead and not talk too long. That was very important with him, and I think that's part of the reason people loved him so much. there's important things that happen like lunch and things like that people get concerned about. But so I will acknowledge my dad, and I can't acknowledge my dad without acknowledging my mom, because they were a team. And, the work they started, they've been doing mission work for 50 years, and specifically Partners for Africa for about 20. And what a legacy that my dad left and that my mom will continue on doing. And it will carry on. I'm going to do my best to show you how we think it's going to be carried on. Sometimes God changes those plans and it looks different, but we'll be open to that if that comes. This is me the last time that I was in Zimbabwe, and I've worked full-time with Partners for Africa for about 5 years, and specifically I worked with the ACT project, which was mentioned previously by Alan, with the boxes and the clothes and shipping. And as Partners for Africa grew, I kind of took most of that responsibility off their hands so that they could do other things. And that's my parents, me, those are my two nephews, the ones that look like my dad, and then the real brighter one, that's mine. That's Boston, and then the other are Tristan and Dakota. And I know a few of you know Tristan, maybe a few of you know Dakota as well. But this is Haley and Noma. So over here, my dad I think some of his titles came from Africa or something, because he liked to call me the deputy director over here, which I don't ever remember anybody. Anyway, Haley's the deputy director over in Africa, and Noma is the superintendent of the school, Amazon Christian, which I'll show you and talk about in a few minutes. And they are amazing. Haley came over to go to the States and go to Heritage Christian, which used to be called International Bible College years ago. He and I are the same age, and he lived with us during that time for a portion of while he went to school there, and he also went to the University of North Alabama and got a degree, I believe, in CIS. So I do have a short video, we're going to see if it plays, of Haley just saying a few words. So we're going to try that at this point. If it doesn't work, I can try to talk like him. I'm not going to do that. And it's all right if it doesn't play. There was just a play button at the bottom left of the... Okay, we're moving on. Just know he said some really good stuff that was encouraging. All right, let's see if... Okay, so the ACT project, which y'all, a lot of y'all, seems like almost all of y'all are very familiar with. I do want to share some numbers about it because they are pretty amazing. And these numbers I share about this and baptisms and churches established, that's just a celebration of what people like you have done. You know, that they're inspired and enthusiastic because of what God has done for us, and then we go out there and we get busy, and these are the things that can be accomplished. This is one of those. The ACT project, the ACT stands for Africa Container Transport. And when we ship the 40-foot containers most of the time, sometimes 20-footers that you would see on an 18-wheeler. Each container can hold 1,300 banana boxes. And I saw some of y'all's banana boxes, and they're very clean. And they're not always like that, but that's great. But we ship into 7 countries. We've been to Zimbabwe, Zambia, Eswatini, which used to be Swaziland, Namibia. We also have shipped to the Caribbean, and I'll show a few pictures of that momentarily. But we're almost 20 years in, and it's just amazing that we get to ship 2 to 3 of those a year. I think one year we shipped, maybe 2 years we shipped 5, which was just like, that's unbelievable. But I'm going to share briefly the last 2 that we shipped. So this picture is not a great picture. I'm aware of that. It's 2 boxes. And what that is, I know a few people in here know who Mike Houts is. And Mike Houts is a nuclear physicist. He works at NASA. He's real smart and knows about things and uses words that I can't pronounce. But he said, I've got something for the school if you'll come by my house in Huntsville and get it. And so I went to his house, and that's a weather station is what that is. And he said, they need that at the school. They can gather weather data and, you know, all the sciencey stuff. So that's it there at the school, assembled, and they are gathering data there at the school at Amazon Christian, which I think is so neat. I love the before, and I'm one of the few people that I get to see almost all the before pictures, you know, because I'm usually loading the containers or bringing it to the container. So there are some desks. There's a lady named Ginger who lives in Huntington, Tennessee. She's involved with a school there. And she said, I've got some desks for y'all to send to the school if you'll come get them. So me and Tristan went up there, and those desks on the left, a lot of y'all probably sit in desks like that. And those are good ones. I mean, they're sturdy. They don't stack well, I'll tell you that. So we had to make 2 trips because we got 75 of them. And so when we came back, the person that was helping us opening the facility and helping us get them loaded was a principal at the school there. He's not affiliated with Partners for Africa or the church or anything. He's just a really nice guy. And when we were there, he goes, what about these smart boards? Do y'all want some of these smart boards? And I wasn't totally sure what they were, but he explained it to me. And a lot of y'all probably have taught with those and used them. And they're really great tools. You can put what's on your computer screen up there, and you can interact with them. And he said, do you want them? I said, yeah. And he ended up giving me 13 of them. And they'd never been used. They're in the boxes, you know. It's an embarrassment of riches what we have here. You know, a lot of the great stuff that we have at schools and stuff, we never even get to it. You know, we just jump to some new technology. But that's us loading this one that was going to the school in Zimbabwe. That's in Sheffield, Alabama there. I know that Alan and Phil and Stan, a few people have been there a few times. But that's the smart boards on the right, and you can see the desks. That's Haley excited when he received them there in Zimbabwe. That is the smart boards and the desks being used in the classroom, which I just love that, the before and after, and it actually working out, you know. That's the first graduating class at Amazon Christian. We started about 5 years ago. We started with what would be the equivalent of a freshman class. And what we did was we added a freshman class each year. And so this is the first. Now we have the whole high school, you know, all 4 years. This is the first graduating class. And as you can tell, they look happy and excited. A lot of these kids, where they live and what they come from, the fact that they come over to this school is pretty neat. So the other container, the most recent container that we shipped, I realize we're Partners for Africa, but before that, my parents spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, so we have a lot of contacts and wonderful people that we know in the Caribbean. And Dominica is one of those places. Healing Hands International is in Nashville, Tennessee, and they help. Every container we ship, they do handle the logistics of it. You know, so I call them, I send them my inventory, and then they make the truck show up and everything. So we've got a good relationship with some of the people there. And Joe Smith, he called and said, hey, we've got this container. It's about half full of beans and rice and dried food goods like that. You've got a place that you could send them to. And so me and my dad, we talked, and we don't send food and things like that to Africa. So we thought, Dominica, we could probably ship it there. So we filled up the remainder with backpacks and desks and things like that, and we shipped that to Dominica, and that's the minister at the church there, Louis Romaine, and he's just a wonderful man. And some of you all have probably experienced this in your professional lives and other things. Things that sound great don't always go off without a hitch, and shipping into third world countries, there can be some red tape, if you will. And there was some with this. And Louis Romaine was just, he was a saint. He was so humble and patient and thorough, and he just made it all work out. And it was just a testament to the kind of man that he is. But that was that. There was some of the items we shipped. The Dad Project is really just water. You know, how we do water. And the Southern Africa is dry. I've got a couple pictures that'll show how dry it is. And so wells they're just life-giving, if you will. And that number there, 150 wells drilled in almost 20 years, is astronomical. I mean, that is unbelievable. And that number is not even right anymore because it goes up almost weekly. But we're getting to the ballpark of 500,000 people receiving water on a daily basis. Wells in 5 countries, 34 congregations planted as a result of wells. 6 new wells to be drilled in 2025, and that number is not current anymore either. The passing of my dad has motivated a lot of people to want to dig wells, and so that number has gone up, and we are, we're wide open with digging the wells. This picture is awesome. I mean, I don't really have to say anything about that. You can see how dry it is there. And so water in the midst of that kind of ground is amazing. The rain that they get is different than us. They have a rainy season. I think they're just kind of coming out of it now. But they have about a 2 or 3 month window where they get rain. And if they don't get rain then and store it, it's going to be rough. And in a lot of these villages, the remote villages, here we call it the country. There they call it the bush. But out in the bush, little villages, everything depends on that. If they have water, if they can plant any food to grow, to survive, and water is really important. That's one of our hand pump wells there. So there's another example of the ground there. There's a mine near the school, and they had hit the mother lode of water, and they communicated with us at the school and said, do y'all want some of this water diverted your way? If y'all can get it, if y'all can do it, y'all can have it. So we did it, and that's what the ground looked like, and the rocks had to be removed for a mile that way. And that's what it looked like after. There's the reservoir. There's the pipe that was ran from that mine to the school. And it is blessing the school immensely. Here's a village that we put a well at this past year. And everything was paid for. The well, the tank, all the equipment. All we had to do was have it installed. But these villagers that lived there, they didn't have any money. That's why we're putting a well there. But they did want to participate, and this is how they participated. Those are men and women with picks and shovels, and they're digging the trench themselves. And so now that is their well. It was theirs anyway, but now it really is their well because they took ownership of it, and they've got some skin in the game, which I think is wonderful. Here is this is an airport, which maybe a few of y'all have been there. It's just an area with a primary school, and we do feedings there. This is, I guess, what you would call a fancy well, if there is such a thing. It has solar, and you don't have to do the hand pump, but it is in a strategic location where we feed children and do a lot of other things. So, speaking of feeding children, Making Orphan Meals is the Mom Project. And we feed over 2,500 orphans weekly. Same countries that I've already mentioned we're in. We also provide drought relief, which occurs frequently there. There are droughts that are, I remember hearing about El Nino, and I just thought that meant you got a lot of rain. Well, El Nino and weather patterns like that can cause other areas not to get rain. And that affected them in a negative way, and we're able to help with some drought relief, which I'll show you a picture of in a minute. And we do a lot of leadership seminars. I'm not sure if anybody here has taught in any of those seminars, but we bring a lot of mission teams, which I know this church has people that have gone, and we bring a lot of teachers, preachers. It's important to have that when you're establishing so many new churches, because if you've got all these new churches and they're all new, you don't have a lot of maturity. You don't have a lot of experience. So leadership seminars are vitally important. And we have a lot of people that sponsor children. You know, they just have a child that is their child. They know the name, they communicate with them, and they sponsor that child. Somebody stands out in that picture, I'm not sure, but this is my mom's cameo, and you know, what a wonderful picture. This picture is one of my favorites, and I know my dad used to always harp on pictures like this because anybody that has children, well, you don't even have to have children, just been in the world. There's not a lot of times I remember seeing children, mine, sit down like that with a plate of food in their lap, quietly eat their food. But my kids have never been hungry. So it's a sobering thing to see and experience. And to see how they help. You know, a lot of these kids don't have parents. And so older siblings are the parent, and they help each other with their food. But to see a 2-year-old sit there with a plate of food and not spill it and just eat it is wild, you know. But that's what happens there because food is important. So this picture is at one of our feedings, and sometimes we're able to send gifts home with them or candy or something, you know, maybe a little extra something. And if y'all can see those green bars there, that is soap. And we were doing this presentation, me and my father, somewhere this past year, and there was an older lady at this church that says she remembers this. So maybe this happened in America too. I didn't think it did. But that soap is a multi-purpose soap. And what they'll do is they'll break it into 3 pieces, possibly more. And one piece will be for their body, one piece will be for the dishes, and one piece will be for washing clothes, you know. So that's a multi-purpose soap. So when they got home that day, wherever home was, that was a pretty good news, you know, because they're going to be able to stay clean and keep things clean. And just a unique item that I was not familiar with. So I mentioned drought, and there's other things besides drought that come up that we're able to help with. But as a result of drought, as needed, we get to do some really cool things like go out to a remote village and take them a bunch of food. You know, I'm telling you, all I'm talking about today is good news. You know, because everything that we're getting to do is great. We're just helping people, and you know, to feed somebody who is hungry or give somebody water who's thirsty. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. But those big bags are what it's called mealie meal. And it makes a thing called sudza. It's like a corn-based product that they eat with almost every meal. It's a high-carb filler that just gets people full, you know. And tastes like nothing. It looks like mashed potatoes, but it weighs about 15 times what a thing of mashed potatoes would weigh. It is dense and it's heavy. And me and my son and my nephews and some of us like to say we like sudza, but we don't really like sudza. We like whatever flavor that we put on top of it or meat that we get to put on top of it. It's kind of like, I don't know if we've got any sushi eaters in here that say they like sushi but they really like soy sauce. It's kind of like that, you know. It's like it's a good carrier. But those bags, I mean, that's so much food is what that'll turn into, and that'll last so long. So here's one of the great stories, and a couple of you may know this story, but those 3 boys on the right are the same as the ones on the left. And the ones on the right came to our feeding, you know, one of the weekly feedings that we do. And they got introduced to the gospel. They became Christians. They grew up. And you know, they're just wonderful young men. The one on the left there with the flower on his shirt, the black shirt, his name is Emmanuel. And he's a talented young man. He's very bright. And he did so well in high school, he scored high enough that he was accepted to medical school. And so he's going to medical school. This is him getting on the bus to go to medical school in Zambia. And this is him getting there and getting his, initial white coat to start the process. And, where I attend church, when I get to attend on a regular, my life has changed a lot recently. But where I attend church, there's a class there that supports his fees and everything to go to medical school. And he has shared a desire that he would love to come back and work at our medical clinic when he finishes medical school. So isn't that awesome? We don't always get to see how God works. We don't get to see the finished product. Sometimes we just get to see a piece of it. But that's a pretty cool big piece right there, And that is why we do it. Not for medical school. To introduce them to Jesus, and then hopefully we have Christians that are working in a medical school. That's the goal. So, Amazon Christian, that is the school. There is our mission statement, preparing students for life globally and eternally. This is out in the country where there is no high school. There's some primary schools, but there's no high school. And so there was a need for that. It is poor out there in this area where this is. And those buildings, they don't really fit. It looks weird because it's like they're such nice buildings. And what we've been able to do over the years is just build this school piecemeal. And we're still doing it. But it's looking pretty impressive right now. And, we've got graduating high schoolers and great things happening. We've got solar power. So these kids all live in mud huts. No electricity, no running water. They walk to school and then they're like on laptops. We've got Starlink internet there now. So that's just wild to think about, I don't have a flushing toilet. I walk down here to school. I've got all that. I'm on the computer. That is awesome. This is our sports building. So any of you that know my nephew, Tristan, he likes to talk, and he is social, and he is interested in doing things. And he likes to lift weights, and he thought it was very important that we have some weights there for these students to be lifting because they're little. But that man there in the red tie is the Secretary of Education for Zimbabwe. So that's a pretty high-titled guy. And because of the school and everything that has been going on there, word had spread to the capital, and they wanted to come see what it was all about. And so they came and toured our school, and we're really impressed. So that's a pretty neat thing. But the first year, none of the students that went to Amazon obeyed the gospel. None of them seemed to be interested. They were really apprehensive is what they were. They didn't know who we were. And by we, I mean anybody that works at the school or, why are you doing this? What's this about? And I would be apprehensive too. It's not every day that you struggle, and then somebody does this thing for your community. It's like, what's the angle? So, but they got to watch us, and after a year, some of the kids started being baptized because they saw who we were. And people will know us by, what we do, not by what we say. And here's some numbers: 749 immersed last year, outreach into 7 countries, 4 churches planted, 103 in all. And Zimbabwe is a unique place. Really Southern Africa, but Zimbabwe is unique in that they are receptive, Can you imagine trying to start 103 churches here? But it's the perfect place for this message, and we continue to see it and are just amazed by it. Tristan, who I've referred to a couple times, is my nephew. My dad loved this slide. I don't think my dad could do a presentation without showing an animal. So here's the token animal slide. You get 2. You get an elephant and some lions. And my dad liked to say that he took Tristan and them to walk with these lions, and they made sure that they told my sister after they did it, because you can always ask for forgiveness, right? But Tristan loves to be around people. He is social. He has got to participate in doing some of these youth Bible camps. This was a big one in Cape Town, South Africa, which is very different than Zimbabwe. I mean, Cape Town is like, I don't remember. It's like 6 million people. It's a huge city. But that was a huge one. And then he really had a leadership role in this one in Matopus. And he hopes to be able to do another one this year. But youth camps are done. He's all in. Tristan will, he'll speak, you know, if there's an opportunity to speak around. He spoke in Sheffield at a church with me a few weeks ago, and he's just all in as well. But currently he's at Faulkner playing football, and so he's kind of busy. So I mentioned leadership training. I showed y'all a picture of Haley in the beginning. This is Haley's father, Valapi, and he's one of the elders, mentors, OGs for some of us younger people. But he's a wonderful man. He's brilliant. He's smart. He used to be a TV anchor once upon a time. He can speak well. You haven't lived until you've seen my dad preach with him interpret. I mean, because he can do the facial expressions, the everything. It is awesome to see. But he's very useful. He helps, really train a lot of preachers and do leadership seminars, because there is a maturity thing that isn't there if people haven't been Christians for a long time. And the leadership training is important. So why do we do all this? I mean, that's rhetorical. I know y'all know the answer. But the reason is the Great Commission. You know, Jesus came and told his disciples, I've been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I've given you. I'm with you even to the end of the age. Verse was, it's powerful. We have an example. We have the best example. It's Jesus himself, right? That's what is in the Bible. We have the example. It says, for the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. There seems to be an unlimited supply of that, right? There are plenty that are lost. It's a call to action. That's how I take it. You know, what am I going to do with the gifts that God has given me? You know, and we all have our talents. We all have our gifts. We all have our abilities. So it can be very easy, and I'm guilty of this, of focusing on what I'm not good at, But what am I good at? What has God given me to do? And then go do it. As Christians, we get to live and tell people the good news. It's not just the good news. It's the best news, So for me not to want to share that, that's like holding on to the most precious thing that has ever existed and then not giving it away. And as a matter of fact, I don't think you can keep it if you don't give it away. So, powerful. So, it's funny what has been read already today, but I love this verse from Corinthians. It says, I planted the seed in your hearts and Apollos watered it. It was God that made it grow. It's not important who does the planting or who does the watering. What is important is that God makes the seed grow. The one who plants and the one who waters work together for the same purpose, and both will be rewarded for their own hard work. For we are both God's workers, and you are God's field, you are God's building. So, everything that I've shared today is partnerships. It's Christians doing what they've been called to do, and that's what it can look like. That's what it looks like. So here's another one. Every time I think of you, I give thanks to my God. Whenever I pray, I make requests for all of you with joy, for you have been my partners in spreading the good news about Christ from the time you first heard until now. And my dad was notorious for this. He loved to sit down with some sort of challenging statement or a charge, if you will. And that's what I'll do. And I don't know that y'all need it. Y'all sound like y'all are pretty lit up and enthusiastic as it is. But let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And that's all we're trying to do. We are trying to meet people's needs in an impoverished place so that we get the opportunity to share the good news with them. So thank y'all for giving me the time. Thank you for all the notes and kind words and everything that people here have done for me and my mother. We appreciate it. But if anybody's here today and they need prayers or they need to make a change in their life, now would be that opportunity. Won't you come as we stand and sing?